I'm Vicky Brown, if I haven't met you.
2015, they were still doing that, right? Because it all looks
And
it's all in our past.
it's my privilege to serve as pastor here.
It's like,
And we have long had many people that are involved in the arts and had a liturgical art committee. And over the years have done some wonderful projects and found it to be enhancing for our worship, as well as prayer times and for retreats. So we've wanted to continue to grow and explore in that area. And just this fall, we have engaged with Elaine Balderston, who's here, and she is a local artist, and she is our artist in residence for the month of November. And she helped establish the gallery space that we've just remodeled upstairs. It was formerly a classroom. It's been cleaned out. The classroom has been shifted to another space in the sanctuary. I'm hearing voices in the sanctuary. Okay. Oh, maybe that's it. No, that's great. Okay.
yeah, I was like, we're going to keep this arm's
And
length.
maybe we
Sold
better
it to
check
you,
it.
and hopefully that will be good because I mean that's not the only other place.
Oh, yeah, I could do that.
We may be overhearing something confidential. We don't want to do that. It might be creative. Yes, it might.
Are you guys hearing it anymore?
No, it's gone. Good job.
I found it.
Perfect.
Slightly on.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we thought it would be wonderful to hear from other churches what you're exploring and doing. Elaine, I think, can talk a little bit about being an artist and an artist in residence and creativity and spirituality and how it's evolved in your life, maybe. And then we'd love to hear what your churches are doing and ideas that you have and things that have worked and things that haven't worked. We just thought that would be an interesting time for open space. So that's the plan. Are there hopes that you had in coming here today beyond that? Okay. Okay. So we'll talk about that.
Hi, everyone. I do have a background in art. I have a couple of degrees in art, but have also served as an art educator for about 20 years in different universities. But along the way, I got another graduate degree in pastoral studies in a theology department at Seattle U, and then eventually my certification as a spiritual director. So I was just thrilled at how all these different little pieces began to fit in my life, and in a way where it was just a privilege to be able to respond as a Christian person and to knit it all together. So in my retirement years and in coming to Roseburg to buy a house that had a studio space, I had, just quality time to devote to my creations. And the further I immersed myself in that process, I guess I have to say I was just kind of pleasantly surprised, overwhelmed could be another word, at God's presence, that the spirit of the divine was indwelling in the process of image making, in the process of making art. And I just felt a very strong sense of guidance to the point where, I was putting things down, whatever the media I was working with, not really understanding why I needed to put that there, but I just was responding to the pull, the guidance that I felt I was receiving. So that whole event, that whole process that went on for many years for me, became like a mantra, like my prayer life, like my divine connection to our Creator. And I was just deeply awed by that experience, so that it was extending my sense of God in the universe, in all creation. And I ended up having great respect for the process of creating, and then eventually for sitting back and doing what's called aesthetic meditation or aesthetic reflection. So, in fact, I hope to offer that somehow in a workshop here, to immerse yourself in a looking and a gazing into an image, a creation, where you are so involved with it that you can receive what is there for you personally. It may not be what the artist had intended, but what is the message? What is the spiritual message for you as you are reflecting on that image? If it's okay, I thought I would, let's see, before I get to that, I guess I should say it's a little different to consider an artist in residence within a church setting. A lot of times it's this concept of working with an artist is directed towards maybe an institution, an art department someplace, in a camp for the summer. So working with a religious institution, that faith community, it's a wonderful partnership, because the church then, the faith community, is offering to assist that artist, to encourage that artist in all ways, to pray for that artist, to acknowledge the work that he or she is doing and respond to it. And the artist in turn then would be serving that faith community in quite a few different ways, certainly to exhibit what they're working on, what they have been encouraged to do, to talk about that, to have dialogues about that work, and if that artist then is so inclined and trained, to offer workshops. And for me as an educator, but also as a person that considers your spiritual relationship with the divine as paramount, my so-called workshops are not necessarily geared to, well, let's see how well we can draw this object or paint this landscape, but rather to, in the process of image creating, consider maybe your favorite scriptural passage, your spiritual reading, your spiritual path, and what you are seeking. So it's always that connection, always that partnership. I thought that you might be interested in how we connected, and what my suggestions would be as you take this idea back to your faith community and consider searching for an artist. Artists could be plural. Pastor Vicky and I knew each other before this year. We knew each other as spiritual directors, as friends in Christ, and she became aware of my artwork, and it was actually at a show that I had last March that was geared towards my acknowledgement of the divine guiding me. So that was a show in town, and so then I was invited, to participate in this faith community as an artist. So as you go back to your faith communities and want to consider this, I would suggest that you do spend, as a community, time in discernment, seeking God's direction as to whether this is appropriate for your church year or for whatever block of time, and consider spaces or a space that could be devoted to an exhibition area. I know in this facility you have seen artwork in the halls, and that allows people visiting the building and church members attending various services to continue to see it. And the space dedicated for the gallery upstairs hopefully is a meditation room. So that's a private setting, and that can be a very small room too in your church. Another consideration would be if in that church year you have available space for a program, for workshops, for classes to be offered. I'm going to check my list and not forget. And then within your church budget, if there is something that would allow for remuneration. You can certainly check in your own congregation for an artist, what's going on just right with in your faith community. And then also you could, if your town permits this, your area permits this, go to local galleries or speak with curators at museums and art centers to inquire as to whether they know of certain artists and can speak about their intention, what their purpose is in their work. And also ask at the galleries about artists who may not necessarily be showing. That may not be their interest. They may not have an interest in exhibiting and in selling. You could check at the local schools to see what the art teachers, probably in the secondary levels, know of artists and their intentions. And then also to attend art shows. And for yourself then, or other members, to gaze at the work and see how it affects you, see what is stirred within you as you examine these works, and if it is possible to read an artist's statement. A lot of times in a one-person or a two-person show in a gallery space, an artist will have a statement on the wall. And that can reveal quite a bit about that person and again, their intention. So down the way then, as your pastor or your team interviews a potential candidate to be artist in residence, to serve your faith community, you would be inquiring about the artist's spiritual life, and then to ask or to inquire as to whether that spiritual life guides their work. Have I covered everything? I hope that was helpful. It's an honor for me to be connected to a faith community as an artist, and I'm very grateful for this privilege.
Questions?
I'm interested kind of in the nuts and bolts of the relationship. Do you hold classes once a week, or how do you interact with the congregation?
Well, we're launching this. Right. So this Thursday, yes, on the 9th, there's a lot of meetings in the building. And so that's a wonderful time for us to have like an open space, an open house, we'll call it, in the gallery. And so I'll be there for a couple of hours, for about 2.5 hours, to talk about the work, to hear from them, to hear their response. And I really enjoy doing that. And I'm going to be in the gallery right after this breakout too, and I hope to see you there if it's possible. And then Pastor Vicky and I have talked about different workshops, how they can be thematic. We've talked about maybe teaming up for different retreats that would have a lot of components, but certainly a time to create things.
We have one scheduled at the end of the month. One that's going to run from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock with the sack lunch in the middle, and Elaine's going to present some ideas about shape and creativity and what can be done, and then give time to reflect and create some things ourselves. So.
Actually, we're going to continue in the spirit of Thanksgiving and work with imagery that would reflect gratitude.
So how much of what you do as an artist in residence at First Pres Roseburg extends to liturgical art in terms of enhancement of worship?
We haven't talked about her involvement with that at all yet. That's been a long-standing committee here in the church. There's a group of people with that interest, and so they've long been doing things. So, including like the banners that you see here, and we have a variety of banners that have been created over the years. So we haven't talked about involving Elaine in that yet.
There's even a banner making room.
There is, and it's right
Yeah.
next to the new art house space. So.
I have two. Just happened. And in fact, in the gallery now, I have brought in quite a few of my books from my own collection, my library. But I was just up there, and I thought I would write down two that are there that you can look through. But I wanted to tell you the names. One is Art is a Spiritual Path. Art is a Spiritual Path by Pat Allen. Another, Windows into the Soul. The subtitle, Art as a Spiritual Expression. And the author, Michael Sullivan.